Welcome to the American Resolution, the show about problems and, most importantly, solutions. Coming up on today's episode, urban decay, empty lots, and a solution that is as sweet as honey. We're talking to the founders of Detroit Hives about how tiny bees became a big part of their city's recovery. I'm Heather Gardner, television host, political commentator, comedian, and now, I guess, podcast host. I'm gonna need a bigger business card. But our first guest, I am so excited. She's one of my BFFs. No big deal, not to brag or anything. Stand-up comedian, Hannah Barnett.
So excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited too. And listen, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you here is because you are not just a stand-up comedian, but you're going to have to tell me exactly what it is because I'm going to get it wrong. You're a beer expert, but there's a specific word.
Yes, it's called being a certified cicerone.
What's a cicerone?
It's essentially like a sommelier, except for that no one respects you. It's basically like I studied a lot about beer. I am certified to teach about beer. I can pair beer and food. I know a lot about the history. It's all justifying probably some alcoholism, but it's all
you know what? If the Taylor Swift album didn't do that for you, then Hannah's here to make it okay in your life. Well, perfect reason that you are here because we are talking about luxury groceries. So how about we go ahead and kick off this week's Conversation Starters.
Conversation Starters.
Groceries are now considered a luxury. Where to begin? Groceries being considered a luxury item is based on a Business Insider article. And the headline is, Millennials and Gen Z's trendy new splurge? Groceries! What? We want to eat? How? No!
Well, okay, there's that way. When you make the headline like that.
Well, how else should I say it?
No, their headline.
Millennials and Gen Z's trendy new splurge. Groceries. It still sounds bad. I'm sorry.
I live stumbling distance from a Whole Foods. And
strike
so
number one. It's not an Erewhon? Wow.
Because what I've realized is the convenience for me, I will spend the luxury groceries if I don't have to get in my car. But honestly, I'm pro luxury groceries.
Okay, well, let me just explain what Business Insider defines as a luxury item. And I'm going to be honest, they are not clear because they say that we're spending a lot on these luxury groceries, and yet they only define it as sparkling water, like liquid death. And then literally the only other thing they mention is Trader Joe's snacks.
Wait, really? That's the luxury? Okay, that's so much more different than what I thought.
Exactly.
I thought we were talking the $30 bottle of water at Erewhon. I'm pro that.
To me, it brought back the trauma of that Australian millionaire a few years ago telling millennials that we couldn't afford houses because
of the avocado
toast. That was a luxury that us millennials could not live without, and that's the reason we'll never be able to afford a mortgage, which is not wrong at all. He's not wrong? What do you mean he's not wrong?
He's not wrong. I'm kidding.
Actually, someone did do the math because they were talking about how at the time it was avocado toast and also your daily coffee, which avocado toast is expensive. Someone added it up and it's nowhere near a down payment.
See, I don't do the math. I don't have a budget. I actually am realizing as we're talking, maybe I'm not the qualified one to talk about it.
You're just if it's good and it's there, I'm gonna take it.
I'm the if it fits, it sits of luxury groceries.
A $6 can of water? Yeah, I'm going to buy that. That's Hannah's mantra.
Yeah, if it's pretty and
it's pretty.
It makes me look cool. I love groceries.
I think what all of this is saying is they're trying to rebrand our problems because luxury groceries aside, groceries, period, is a problem for most Americans, and the affordability of it is a problem. The typical American household would need to spend $445 more a month to purchase exactly what they could buy this time last year. That's wild. So when we're talking about, Gen Z and millennials want to spend so much money on groceries, I'm sorry, Americans are having to spend this money on groceries. We don't have a choice.
I think I represent probably the everyday modern, I don't follow a lot of like inflation. So things probably are increasing in pricing so much that I'm just not even noticing. Like, I'm like, I'll just be poor and it's fine. And like, this is what it is.
But I mean, here's the thing. It's like you can cut out some things in your life. Like, I'm sorry, you can't afford bread. You're still going to have to eat the bread. You're still going to have to buy the bread.
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't think that our luxury water is the problem here.
The shaming of people for buying the things that make them happy is the thing that I'm not down with. Like, don't throw shade at my PB&J. Like, it's not my problem. It's inflation's problem.
It's America's problem, okay?
Yeah.
Do we have a solution to it? No. Well, actually, the Wall Street Journal did have a rather dystopian solution to this. They actually had a headline that said, feeling a little tight on money? Try skipping breakfast.
Oh, they want us to starve now?
Oh, that's the solution. Guys, just get an eating disorder. You'll be
good for
fine.
your waistline.
Oh my God.
Get Ozempic. You won't eat anything.
This is the problem now because we are spending so much more on necessities that most Americans can't afford. Maybe the number one necessity, a roof over their head. And that brings us to our topic number 2, is the American dream a pipe dream? When we're talking about affordability, because bottom line now, the median home sale price in the United States, are you sitting down? $417,000 as of Q4 of last year.
That's wild.
And yeah, that is up from $329,000, which is also crazy, just 3 years prior in 2020.
That is wild. Like, I think of like when I lived in Oregon before this, I was like this close to buying a house. It was 2020. I was like talking to realtors. Like, and
do you hate yourself for not doing it?
Yeah, well, of course. Of course. I mean, truly, like I have friends who bought houses and they're doing so well for themselves. I'm so happy for them, but also fuck them.
For everyone who was lucky enough to have a crystal ball and bought a house before 2020, we are so happy for you.
I also am not that envious of them because you know what's expensive?
Yeah.
A plumber, an electrician, air conditioning. I want to be buying my peanut butter and jelly. I would so much rather spend my money on that. And
you are the millennial they were talking about, Hannah.
I totally am. Now
I completely understand the shame.
I don't.
I get where they're coming from now. Thank you for clearing this up for me.
Whatever. I hate it. I don't want to do it. I get upset. And then I'm like, oh, I have to spend my money on this? This is bullshit. And so that's why I'm kind of not jealous of my friends who have houses because when something breaks, that shit's expensive.
I think for so many Americans, the house is the foundation of like a lot of the American dream. To me, and maybe the American dream is different to you, but to me, the American dream is the house, the kids, the good stable job, the chance to retire at 65, maybe ever. That would be just so nice. A bit of travel sprinkled in, a few of those snacks. I want a little bit of snacks, okay? A life of just like comfort, not leisure. I'm not asking for a yacht, but a life of low stress and comfort and all those things that we have been told. If you don't have the house, can you get all the other stuff? Because let me hit you with this stat. A couple can expect to spend roughly $306,000 to raise a child that was born last year. And that does not include college.
I thought it was more.
You're like, damn! What a bargain! Hannah, what did you say your job was again? I mean, if you're like,
apparently it's not math. I feel like the American dream was based on a lot of assumptions about the way you want to live your life. Like you want to have kids, you want to own a home, you want to live in the same place for a very, very long time.
True.
You want to retire at a certain age. And maybe it is because of late stage capitalism or a whole amalgamation of things.
That was a big word.
Did that sound smart? I'm just trying to sound smart here. I hate that the American dream was just this one thing. Yeah. It's the 2.5 kids. It's the golden retriever. It's the white picket fence. And it's like, I'm just like, I feel like that is such a simplified stereotype. And now that we've started challenging, like, what does it mean to be a woman in the modern day workplace? What does it mean to be a man? Like, what does it mean to have or not have kids? I think that the American dream has to change and that it might mean different things to different people. And like, maybe that includes home ownership. Maybe it doesn't.
I do like that though, because like, yes, the old way of thinking, the traditional American dream that we've been sold, maybe that is dead. Maybe that is a pipe dream. But if we just redefine it, why don't we rebrand the American dream? How about
the positive
that?
take is what I like about what's happening in society right now is it is, I would say, more accessible than ever to try for your dream.
I do think about that a lot too when it comes to like not owning a home too, because the people in my life who do own homes are pretty planted, and I don't want to say they're stuck because I don't know that they would feel stuck, but they are physically in one place. I don't like to do that. I don't like to be like that.
I think everyone's different. And I think it should be, if you want to live in the same place and like that's what makes you feel secure and makes you happy, that's great. And to be honest, for the past however many hundreds of years, that has been the example of what success is. And I think now we finally get to say, you know what if success looked a little different?
And I think if we're going to think about like a solution to maybe the existential dread of maybe you will never own a home, we could just start talking about success in different ways. I say this all the time to my husband. I'm like, I don't even feel like an adult. And I thought maybe it's because I don't own a house, or maybe it's because I don't have a kid. I've been paying bills for like 20 some years and I still don't feel like an adult. And I kind of just thought like maybe it's because I didn't have those markers of success.
I think it's because you don't have examples of different ways to be an adult. We've seen that this is what you do. You follow this formula. That's kind of why I want to be an advocate for being a little different, where I'm like, you know what? Owning the house might not be the dream for me.
So now I have to ask, like, what is your American dream?
I should have thought of that, but
I don't know, Heather. We're just figuring it out as we go. Why are you badgering me?
I mean, kinda. Like, I think
that's also kind of fucking fun.
My American dream is pursuing what makes me happy and like what I'm having fun doing. I don't think it's a bad thing to live a life in pursuit of fun, because I think that a lot of people, they've made their lives into this esoteric journey towards, I need to find meaning. I need to find and I think I'm finding a lot of meaning and having a lot of fun.
Hannah, thank you so much. This was so fun and very insightful.
I don't know if that's true. I'm having a blast.
And therefore, she is living her American dream, guys. We had fun. We are going to continue having fun. Guys, we are talking to some amazing people in Detroit who turn vacant lots into beehives. Stay tuned.
Oh, I have a bee tattoo.
Wait, where is it? Look at that bee.
I love the bees.
Oh.
I had beehives at one point.
This is the perfect episode for you to be on.
I think the bees are great. We gotta save the bees. You have to save the bees, you guys.
Hannah, will you listen to the rest of the podcast? We save the bees.
We're saving the bees.
Welcome back to the American Resolution. And today, we actually bring you the tale of two problems. The Burbs and the bees.
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
No. Not the birds and the bees. I said the Burbs and the bees.
Giggity.
Let's start with the bees. These adorable little striped buggers with the big eyes that you just want to hug and squeeze. But not too hard, because their population was declining the last few decades. But guess what? All of a sudden, they are thriving and vibing.
The number of honeybee colonies soaring to 3.8 million in 2022, nearly a million more than just 5 years earlier.
Well, okay. This calls for a celebration.
Do the honeybee, do the honeybee, do the honeybee, come on, do the honeybee.
Y'all, we did it. We saved those bees. Do you remember PSAs like this when you were a kid? Y'all, people in the comment section of that video said they listened to that song in kindergarten, and wow, I'm jealous. I mean, my childhood songs taught us about something that actually did become extinct.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
What the hell is a letter? Now, as much as I'd like to think that music brought back the honeybees from the brink of death, catchy tunes and public awareness campaigns can't take all the credit. What we can acknowledge, however, is America's obsession with one particular snack. In the mid-2000s, Americans went nuts over nuts.
The almond craze, America's appetite exploded 220% since 2005. We now eat more than 2 pounds of almonds every year.
We started putting almonds in everything. Almond milk, almond butter, almond shampoo, and lotion, and oil, and lube?
Starts off like a cream. It's actually sweet almond oil. And the more you kind of massage it in there, this is my favorite formula.
Have you ever heard someone so excited over personal lubricant?
Thank you for bringing that lube for my I never would have been able to handle your 4-inch without that gigantic bottle of lube.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I forgot about that one. But farmers had to do something to keep up with this surge in demand. America went from producing 677 million pounds of almonds in 2000 to nearly 3 billion by 2022. That something was bees.
It's a two-sided relationship. The almonds need the bees to set a crop, and the beekeepers over the years have become dependent on that paycheck from the almond pollination. We can't exist without each other.
While agriculture has been a major driver in restoring bee populations, another has been urban beekeeping, which used to be rare and often illegal, but now is all the buzz.
Cities that until recently restricted beekeeping, like Washington, D.C., New York, and Los Angeles, have lifted those restrictions. The movement is being embraced because the number of bee colonies in the U.S. had dropped dramatically in recent decades.
Not exactly known for their green pastures, cities have gotten creative on where to host these hives.
On the roof of the Sofitel Hotel in downtown Philadelphia, Don Shump manages 4 hives of honeybees.
Random facts about Madison Square Garden. You already know that MSG is the world's most famous arena, but it's also home to something else, a beehive.
From the White House to a federal courthouse, hives started humming at government facilities across the country.
Yes, even the White House maintains beehives put in place by the Obama administration, which sounds lovely, but promptly backfired on the president, who in 2015 was reading Where the Wild Things Are to a group of children among the wild things.
These are good. They won't land on you. They won't sting you. They'll be okay. You're not supposed to be scared of bees.
Oh my God! Is the president having a nice photo op, or is he murdering those children? This would have never happened under Trump. Trump? Children? Reading? Never. Anyway, people started getting creative on where to put their bees, which brings us to the burbs. Because while the bees were thriving, some American cities were declining.
43% of cities are losing population. The Midwest has been hit the hardest in cities like Detroit, Cleveland, St. Louis.
And as people moved to different parts of the country, many of those cities became plagued with vacant lots and abandoned homes that are not only eyesores, but can also have devastating effects on local communities, from economic loss to crime. As the Wall Street Journal put it, one vacant lot is a real estate opportunity. Hundreds of them are a worry. Tens of thousands make a crisis. And this is where the burbs meet the bees, because American cities are also making a comeback, baby. And leading the way is Detroit, whose revitalization efforts are getting the attention it deserves.
A few years ago, it was an off-the-wall idea. Why not use vacant Detroit lots as a place to raise bees?
Yeah, and then that idea turned into Detroit Hives, and it's now a smashing success.
Our guests today are Timothy Jackson and Nicole Lindsey, co-founders of Detroit Hives, a nonprofit organization that solved not one, but 2 problems at once by transforming rundown vacant lots in Detroit into thriving green spaces that host beehives.
Listen up, got a story to tell. Thought the burbs and the bees doing it so well. In Detroit City, vacant lots gone to waste, but beekeepers came and created a better place, turning concrete jungles into lush green scenes. Ain't nothing like the buzz from the honey.
We caught up with Timothy and Nicole right as they were prepping for a busy day at one of their many properties. And no, unfortunately, that's not the only dad joke I'll be making. I gotta just say before we get started, when we started to think about the concept of this podcast more than a year ago, your organization was one of the first ones that we came up with, and I have been excited for more than a year to talk to you. Thank you guys for coming on the American Resolution. Talk to me about Detroit Hives, how you got started, what you're doing in the community.
So Detroit Hives started from pretty much a call to action with the city of Detroit. They were looking for residents, block clubs, nonprofits to buy back many of their vacant lots. At this time around the summer of 2016, our city had well over 90,000 abandoned homes, vacant lots, that were contributing to blight, crime, and lowering the value of our community. They were offering these vacant lots for as low as $100. And I figured with Nicole and I, we can get back to our community to change the narrative of what people think about the city of Detroit, but also change the narrative of what people think about the people that reside within these communities, particularly underserved communities. We wanted something that was innovative, game-changing, and something that was not done before. As time progressed, from the summer to December of 2016, I had this really bad cough and cold that I could not get rid of until I mistakenly came across the power of local raw honey. From there, I began to do a lot more homework and research on this local raw honey. They got rid of my cough and cold. That's when the idea began to seek out a nonprofit, revitalizing vacant lots into bee farms, a place for both people and pollinators to thrive and flourish.
Your mission statement is like kind of threefold: conservation, education, revitalization. Let's go back to the revitalization part of it, because when I first came across you guys, my first thought was, how did you get the lots? Because houses and lots are expensive. So talk to me about the program that allowed you to buy. You said you bought the lot for what, $100?
Yeah, so at the time, our city didn't have a budget to tend to them. So these vacant lots were going for as low as $100. And these vacant lots were in areas that were high in crime, high in poverty. So from there, we formed a community partnership with Detroit Land Bank to acquire these lots.
This is a bigger problem than just Detroit as people change the way that they work and we're moving to different parts of the country. And a lot of places have come up, like Detroit, have come up with creative solutions. Baltimore, for example, is selling vacant homes for like $1. Just, creative ways to get people to reinvest back into their communities. Would you say that this was like vital to helping you guys create Detroit Hives? Would you have been able to do it otherwise without one of these types of programs?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Most residents really didn't have an interest in buying land because it looked like an extra expense, extra taxes, extra liability, extra work to do around the house. However, we wanted to find a way to change the narrative of our city and our community. And we sought out a way to support food security through pollinators. And that was a project and our idea that we wanted to bring to the city of Detroit.
Now, how many lots do you have now?
So through our partnerships with urban gardens, community organizations, and local businesses, we exist in over 29 locations throughout Detroit and Southeast Michigan.
Oh, so you've actually gone past Detroit then?
Not only have we gone past Detroit, but we also, our model has been recognized nationally, that we've been able to form Mohives, KC, and Kansas City, Missouri as well. So we have been able to scale and create a model that can be implemented on a national level.
I didn't realize that 1 in 3 things that we eat or buy from the grocery store comes from pollinators, comes from bees. More than just like a climate perspective, just our own individual health. It's super, super important to have these community gardens being locally pollinated by your local bees.
But one positive way of looking at vacant lots is that they really support the conservation of native bees.
Well, since you brought up the native bees, I don't mean to be like a buzzkill or anything, but I was actually, that's the most terrible joke ever. You can put that on me. Yeah. I was like, am I going to be that cheesy? Yes, I'm going to be that cheesy. I was reading there is some pushback because the trend of urban beekeeping, especially over the last decade or so, has really exploded, which sounds great. And I've heard my entire life, like, save the bees, do what you can to save the bees. And all of a sudden, the scientists are like, whoa, you've saved the bees. How do you feel about the pushback that urban beekeeping and the domestic bees is actually harmful to the native bees?
So the problem is not honeybees. The problem is a lack of habitat. The problem is deforestation and displacing a lot of our wildlife. When we created roads and freeways and highways, we displaced our wildlife and a lot of our insects.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head when it's like, you didn't create this problem here. People that came long before us that mowed down the meadows and put in the highways. I did think it was a little ironic in reading some of this pushback to be like, look at these terrible people hurting the. I'm like, wait a second.
Also, with a unique city like Detroit, we're actually boosting native bee populations here in Detroit because of our vacancy in our green spaces. If you're living in a space like Detroit where there's vacancy and you're allowing those native flowers to grow and actually there's nobody spraying here, what you're starting to see now is that in rural farming is that they're trying to start getting rid of those monocultures and kind of be more intentional and conscious of making sure that they're planting a variety of flowers. So it's not just agriculture depending on honeybees to pollinate almonds or oranges, all about creating that haven and a space for those natives to thrive.
I've got a headline here from The Independent that said, beekeeping has gone viral. How easy busy is it? Have you seen an uptick in beekeeping, or at least the interest in bees since social media, TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely obviously interest in others keeping bees because it's interesting. People really want to learn how to interact with them. So you see a lot of videos of people catching swarms, rescuing honeybees or things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think also social media allows us to get more of an insight of what people are doing on their day-to-day. When people are posting videos about their life as a beekeeper, people are kind of getting more of an interest and saying, oh, maybe I could do that. Before we started, we didn't see beekeepers
on
Instagram, but we have a passion for it. We love it so much. So we want to share with everybody about the importance of how great these beautiful insects are.
Talk to me about how this is part of your culture.
We've seen like people in Egypt, people in the United States keep bees. It's just that it hasn't been visually shown that Black people have been beekeeping. Just over time, it just kind of got lost. Mm-hmm.
You know, Nicole and I, we are involved in various beekeeping associations. We took several courses, but no one has ever told us about the beekeepers of color. If we're not sharing these stories, our stories will get lost. Like, for example, there's a gentleman named Dr. Charles Henry Turner, who was the first scientist to discover that bees could see shape and color. Although we took these courses, became certified beekeepers, no one's ever mentioned of the gentleman until we've done the research and shared it with the beekeeping world. And you have another gentleman by the name of George Washington Carver. He's known for creating many uses of the peanut, but he was also a beekeeper. And every student at Tuskegee Normal, which is now known as Tuskegee University, had to learn beekeeping under his direction. So these are other people that we did not know about by taking beekeeping courses, beekeeping classes. And this is the information that we want to share with those that are in our same counterpart.
That kind of makes me mad because I have actually heard of George Washington Carver. I think everybody in elementary school learns about peanuts, but they just gloss over that other part. I get frustrated with the lack of education. Education is one of your pillars as well. Talk to me about how you've been able to partner with local schools to help hands-on science and learning so we don't have these gaps anymore in our education.
As kids in elementary and middle school and high school, we weren't taught this. And so we wanted to spread this information, this education to the children around in the city of Detroit so they can know how great these creatures are, how they play a part in our ecosystem.
We hosted well over 3,000 tours that creates intergenerational experiences for children and also parents as well. But we've been able to expand from that with our Be the Change program, working with local schools and educational institutions to educate the next generation of leaders on the importance of pollinator conservation.
A lot of kids are learning about pollinators in school now, but we allow them to get a hands-on opportunity outside of the books. And we get a chance for them to actually go inside the hive and learn about the great benefits of bees and how being out in nature is so beneficial. So when the kids come, of course, they're a little scared, but then they leave and they're beginning to ask tons of questions. And they're so excited that they pass it on to their classmates, their family, and they want to share that information. But they also encourage others to come and visit us and do tours.
I feel like I would have loved that as a kid, but I also, even as an adult right now, I'm a little scared of bees. I do have to ask, how many times have you guys been bitten? Or not bitten, stung? Like, I'm sure it happens,
bees
right?
Don't bite. They will protect their hive by using...
Thanks, see, there you go. Set me straight.
Right. It comes with the territory, but we don't get stung often. Don't get stung often, no.
I think the first year is when I got the most things, but after that, it's been a couple of years in between where I've gotten stung.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we used to remove yellow jackets, wasps, and I've gotten stung more so with them than the bees. Yeah.
There aren't people out there who are domesticating wasps, are there?
Yeah, actually, yes. There is one particular guy.
There are? Now that sounds scary to me.
He's relocating bald-faced hornets and rehoming them.
I mean, I guess that's important too, but that sounds a little scary. Just to wrap things up, I mean, to others who maybe have been thinking about either beekeeping or revitalizing their neighborhoods, what would you say to them?
So this directly aligns with our newest initiative on making Detroit an official bee city, which means that we now work with community residents, schools, and municipalities to support the ethical treatment of native bees. And part of this initiative is education and awareness, but also a call to action. So what others can do is they can create their own small backyard garden with native wildflowers to attract pollinators. But also what they can do is create a water source. Honeybees and pollinators, when they're out foraging looking for food, they can get thirsty. So what's really helpful to them is a water source nearby that they can visit But also maybe volunteering at a garden or volunteering for a local beekeeper can also help as well.
And also make sure that you're using less chemicals or pesticides on your lawns.
Fascinating conversation. Everything I had hoped and dreamed for the last year.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining the American Resolution. And hey, if you want to watch this episode, you can find the videos on YouTube at The American Resolution. And also join the conversation by following us at American Resolution Pod on every social platform. This podcast is a production of Rat Trap Entertainment in partnership with Sheila Conlon and Cabana 14 Productions. Produced by Heather Gardner and Lauren Gardner with limited support from their cat, that little bastard.